Hi, my name is Mary Biesinger, and I'm here to tell you about an exciting method that you can use to really help your children to attain their mission, or the people that you're mentoring. There's a story once told about an eagle that was raised as a chicken in a farmyard. A naturalist comes along and sees the eagle there among the chickens and says to the farmer, "This chicken is not a chicken, it's an eagle, and let me help it to attain its true potential." So the farmer gives the naturalist a shot, and the naturalist takes the eagle, holds it up, and says, "Eagle, you were meant to fly, fly high and be free." And the eagle just looks at his friends in the barnyard and swoops right back down and joins the chickens and starts pecking on the grain on the ground. The naturalist wants to try again, so he takes the eagle to the edge of the field where he's farther away from the barnyard, hoping he won't see his chickens, his friends, the chickens there. And then the naturalist holds him up again and says, "Come on, eagle, you were born to be an eagle. Fly and attain your true potential." But the eagle still sees those chickens and still remembers how it was raised, and still goes down to join the chickens in the barnyard. The farmer's laughing at this point and scoffs at the naturalist's attempt to help this eagle attain its true potential. So the naturalist asks for one more time. This time he takes the eagle far away from the sounds of the barnyard, takes it to the high mountains, holds it up high where it can see the sunrise just coming up. As he holds the eagle up, he holds the eagle so it's looking directly into the sun. The eagle sees the vista around it, tests its wings, and soars, and becomes the eagle it was destined to become, because it has that vision of what it can become. That's my mission in life, is to help all of the eagles around me to realize they're not chickens, but they're actually eagles, to help people realize their full potential, their full genius. So when my children were reaching the point when they were getting to their teenage years, and I wanted to come with an education plan that would give them core and connections and context. It would give them leadership skills, and wasn't just another conveyor belt class. I didn't see anything around me that was going to help them with that. I wanted a class that had agency, but still allowed them to come together and be inspired by each other. And so this is the foundation of Vanguard, is this idea over here, is this eagle right here. I wanted my children to realize that they had a God-given mission. That's kind of the head that guides them. I wanted them to realize, to make connections and context, because that really is what gives you the power in your wings, in your education, to be able to soar. Agency is a key part of that, the ability to actually move and control that, so they could individualize their education as much as possible. Again, within this context of a class that they come together and synergize with. A part of this also, what I wanted them to have is a core and a crust. If you come down here, Timothy Clark talked about the core and crust of leadership. And he said that if you have a strong core, which means you're a good moral person, but you have a weak crust, you don't have a lot of good skills, then you're ineffective. If you have a weak crust and a weak core, you're a couch potato and you basically don't do anything. If you have a strong crust and a weak core, you have people like Hitler who have no moral guiding light inside of them. And if you have a strong core and a strong crust, that's what we're going for. So jumping back up here to this eagle image, I knew that in order for my children to attain their missions, they needed to have a strong core and a strong crust. I also knew that they needed to have service-oriented leadership mentality. There are many people who have all these different skills, but they don't use it to serve. And I feel like that's really the guiding influence that I want to have with my children as they attain their missions. The last thing I feel like is essential in a youth group and in any classroom environment is to have a respectful and inspiring peer environment. So this image helps capture everything that I was searching for my children. So as I was looking at, again, at the things around me, I didn't find anything that I really liked that I felt like met all those needs. And so I created this Vanguard Youth Group, which incorporates methods and tools to help to attain this in the best way I found possible. Read books by Neil Flinders and by Hicks, called Norms of Nobility. There's so many books great books about education out there, and I feel again that this method answers all of the needs that they address in the classroom environment. So now I'd like to go over here and show you how this works. Okay, so Vanguard, what it seeks to do is it seeks to encapsulate all of their education and make connections where it's meaningful. When I studied the Founding Fathers and my brief studying of the great books, I feel like there's 7 great areas that all questions can be captured in, that the great debate that everyone has tried to answer since the beginning of time. So what we do in Vanguard is we try to break them down into 7 months to give them this context so they can have an appreciation for these great questions that mankind's been asking itself since the beginning of time. The first great question the Founding Fathers talked about, I believe, was the pursuit of happiness. And that's this represented by this person here in the middle of this picture. What is it that makes us happy? How can we attain true happiness? And so that month we'll study about principles that help us to recognize what makes us happy. The next month we talk about liberty. How can we create liberty? How can we, what is liberty and what is its role in society? This is something that, from Karl Marx to Montesquieu to other people, they've all discussed this idea of liberty, and what extent does a person have a right to be free? The next question I feel like is always asked is work and property. How can we be effective with our work, and what is our role with our property? Who owns it, and what do we have power to do with it? So these are 3 great questions we have. Beyond that, then we start branching outside, and I also include, what is our relationship with God? That's a great question. Is there a God that's out there? So we address that question that month. The next month we talk about leaders. We need good leaders here to support society. Society is the boundaries between 2 individuals and the rules that define that. But in order to have those supported, we need to have good leaders. So what is it that makes good leaders? One thing we address one month. The next month we talk about society. What is it to make a good society? The last month we talk about responsibility of a citizen. So we use that framework to guide their education. So using this framework, we're able to take each one of those topics and we break it down to 4 weeks. And in those 4 weeks, we break it down to 4 lenses. 4 lenses is something that's very common in different educational methods. And the 4 lenses that I feel like, again, encapsulate all of learning is represented down here in our core and crest. We have leadership. As the first week, we study the principle from the perspective of a leader. Then we talk about it from a historical and geographical perspective. What lessons can we learn from history that will teach us about the concept that we're learning about that month? Then we go into math and science. We call it Eureka. We take examples from history and from math and science and the methods that we have, and we tie it into, again, that principle of the month, which gives it context and connection and meaningful at that. And then we have the last week, we have imaginative arts. And that week in imaginative arts, we cover different topics dealing with the arts, whether it's poetry or books or music that helps, again, to illustrate the principle for that month. So those are our 3 visuals that help us understand how we do Vanguard. Now, as we look at this, well, let me tell you a little bit about what it looks like. Okay, so as we do Vanguard each week, the students come with inspirements that are offered by the mentors. The inspirements have been submitted before and distributed to the students so they can learn a basic core bit of knowledge. And then they study it and they kind of do their own studies on that topic throughout the week. And then they come to Vanguard that week prepared to teach. And this is, I think, part of the power of Vanguard is we're centering all their learning on principles. They find connections with it. We go over different parts of history and, again, these different topics. And we find connections to how they apply to deeper principles. How do you apply the idea of geology in a moral perspective? It's a really cool connection process there. And then as they pursue and study to their own depths and what they want to do, then they're able to come back and teach each other, which is a powerful avenue of learning. Within the Vanguard class, we use lots of different tools, the different 5 environments. We use lectures and tutoring and those different elements of Thomas Jefferson education, if you're familiar with that. And throughout doing this whole thing, we create youth that feel empowered with their personalized missions. They feel empowered that God has a mission for them on this earth. They feel empowered because they can take all this random bits of knowledge and they can find context and connections for them. And they are able to take them, what they've learned from that, and then they use it to go forward to serve in the world. So I hope this is a very brief perusal of Vanguard. I have lots of videos that go into further depth. But that's just a quick overview of Vanguard, and I hope that helps, and I hope you'll ask me any questions you have or look at the other videos and hopefully they'll answer that with more clarity. So thanks for your time and have fun exploring this whole great world of Vanguard.